Hello, good afternoon, all of you. Today we would like to present you about discourse analysis. But first, let us introduce ourselves. We are from Group 2. My name is Yara Fitriani. And then I also have partner here, which is Andika Pratama. So today we would like to present you about discourse analysis. For the first presenter will be me, and the second presenter will be Andika Pratama. And today in my presentation we will discuss about what is discourse analysis, and then the relationship between language and context, and then discourse analysis and pragmatic, and then the next one is the discourse structures of the text, and then the last one is cultural way of speaking and writing. So the first one, let's jump into what is discourse analysis. So discourse analysis focus on knowledge about language beyond the word, clause, phrase, and sentence that is needed for successful communication. It looks at patterns of language across texts and considers the relationship between language and the social and cultural context in which it is used. Discourse analysis also considers the way that the use of language presents different view of the world and these different understandings. It examines how the use of language is influenced by relationship between participants as well as the effects the use of language has upon social identities and relations. It also considers how views of the world and identities are constructed through the use of discourse. Discourse analysis examines both spoken and written texts. In 1952, Harris said that connected discourse occurs within a particular situation, whether of a person speaking or of a conversation or of someone sitting down occasionally over the periods of months to write a particular kind of book in a particular literary or scientific tradition. So Harris introduced that discourse analysis connected to the speech and writing. Harris also had two main interests. The first one is the examinations of language beyond the level of the sentence, and the second one is relationship between linguistic and non-linguistic behavior. Okay, so here is the relationship between language and context. So discourse analysis is interested in what happens when people draw on the language they have about language. And then discourse analysis is also the analysis of the language in use. Discourse analysis considers the relationship between language and the context in which it is used and is concerned in descriptions and analysis of both spoken and written interactions. Okay, and then it is also provide a deeper understanding and appreciations of text and how they become meaningful to their users. For examples, the relationship between linguistic and non-linguistic behavior. Harris give us situations or an examples how someone interpret a word or a sentence. So for example, an air traffic controller says to a pilot, "The runway is full at the moment." The most likely mean it is not possible to land at the plane at the moment. So the pilot should understand what does it mean. Okay, so it means that the pilot should not land the plane, but it will be different if you are the one who want to pick up your family or your relative in the airport. When they heard that the runway is full at the moment, they will think that the airplane will delay on landing. The second one, discourse analysis and pragmatics. A number of aspects of language use that are discussed by people working in the area of discourse analysis are also discussed in the area of pragmatics. Pragmatics is concerned with how the interpretations of language depend on knowledge of the real world, such as, for example, the examples of the runway is full at the moment. That sentence is understood as instructions not to land the plane, rather than just a sentence of fact. Pragmatic is interested in what people mean by what they say, rather than what word in their most literal sense might mean by themselves. It is sometimes constructed with semantics which deal with literals. And we also can conclude that it is a consideration of the way in which people mean more than what they say in spoken and written discourse. So the third one is the discourse structures of text. Discourse analysis are also interested in how people organize what they say in the sense of what they typically say first and what they say next, and so on in a conversation or in a piece of writing. So it can also be concluded that particular thing we say and particular way of ordering what we say in particular spoken and written situations and in particular language and culture. For example, in written situations, you've got an email from Japanese academic member or from Japanese university staff. They may start with reference to the weather saying. So, for example, Dear Mr. Patrick, it's hot here in Tokyo. Or, greetings first, and then they will say, it's such a beautiful day here in Kyoto. So they will reverse after saying or after greeting, they will tell the weather or the situation in that place. This is based on their culture. Another example for spoken situation is from Mitchell, 1957. He said that discourse is how language is used as cooperative action and how the meaning of language lies in the situational context in which it is used and in the context of the text as whole. So he argued based on his observation and experience that how the interaction will typically start, what language will typically be used in the interaction, and how the interaction will be typically end. For examples, when we are walking alone in the streets of a market, When someone say, "Hello miss, hello mister, t-shirt please," it means that that person will sell something to us. In this, Mitchell experienced that this kind of interaction, that the price they are telling me or telling us is just a starting point in the buying and selling exchange, and that I can quite easily end up buying the t-shirt for at least half the original price. So he tried to explain that the interaction between the seller and the buyer, it starts from the first negotiations until to the end. That's why he said that they can buy that shirt with half price because of the negotiations, because of the interaction between the seller and the buyer. 4. Cultural way of speaking and writing. One useful way of looking at the way in which language is used by particular cultural groups is through the notions of ethnography of communications. Himes, 1964. Himes also started this work in reaction to the neglect at the times of speech in linguistic analysis and anthropological descriptions of culture. His work was also a reaction to view a language which took a little or no account of the social and cultural context in which language occurs. In particular, he considered aspects of speech events such as who is speaking to who. That's the first one. And then about what for, so for what the purpose is, and then where, when, and how this impact on how we say and do things in culture specific setting. So there are, for example, particular cultures' way of buying and selling things in different culture. How I buy my lunch at a takeaway shop in an English-speaking country is different in a Japanese country. In an English-speaking country, there is a greater rituals use of please and thanks on the part of customers is the kinds of reaction that then there is in Japan. How I buy something in English-speaking country supermarket may be more similar to how I might do this in Japan. The person at the cash register in Japan, however, will typically say much more than the customer in sort of situation, who may indeed say nothing. This is not mean that the Japanese customers is being rude, but it simply means that there are cultural different way of doing things with language in different culture. The sequence of events I go through may be the same in both cultures, but the way of using language in these events and other sorts of non-linguistic behavior may differ.
Hello everyone, my name is Andika Putra Pratama. Today I would like to continue the explanation. It's about communicative competence and discourse. So, communicative competence is an important part of the theoretical background to the ethnography of communication as well as more recently, communicative perspective on language teaching and learning. Communicative competence is often described as being made up of four underlying components. The next slide is explanations and descriptions about the four components of communicative competence. Okay, let's continue to the next material. It's about four components of communicative competence. As we can see in the video, there are four competence. The first one is grammatical competence. The second one is sociolinguistic competence, and then strategic competence, and the fourth is about discourse competence. Let's discuss one by one. Let's start with the grammatical competence. In grammatical competence, we are understanding and using vocabulary, language conventions such as grammar, punctuations, and also spelling. And then about syntax, yeah, it's about the sentence structures. And then the second skill, it's about sociolinguistic competence. In sociolinguistic competence, we are having awareness of social rules of language, such as the formality, politeness, directness, and then formal or informal ways of greeting, nonverbal behaviors, cultural references such as expressions and background knowledge. And then in a strategic competence, we are using techniques to overcome language gaps and then plan and assess the effectiveness of communications, achieve conventional and written fluency, and also modify text for audience and purpose. And also enhancing for the effectiveness of communications uh, and compensating for breakdowns in communications. And then the next is about discourse competence. In discourse competence, we are understanding how ideas are connected through. It is include patterns of organizations, such as ideas can be organized sequentially by importance, by comparing and contrasting. And then about conjunctions like and, or, because, and then transition words, first, next, also, however, for instance, therefore, and etc. Okay, let's go to the next material. It's about discursive competence. In discursive competence, there are three things that we should know. The first one is about textual competence, generic competence, and also social competence. Let's discuss one by one. Okay, let's discuss. Let's start with the textual competence. In textual competence, it is ability to produce and interpret contextually appropriate text. To do this, we draw on our linguistic, contextual, and pragmatic knowledge of what typically organized and how it is typically interpreted. For examples, like when we are chatting and messaging our friends. The next is about generic competence. The generic competence describes how we are able to respond by constructing, interpreting, using, and exploiting conventions associated with the use of particular kinds of text or genres. For example, like when we send an email to our lecturers or a text message to our friend. The last one is about social competence. In social competence, it describes how we use language to take part in social and institutional interactions in a way enables us to express our social identity. within the constraints of particular situation and communicative interaction. Next is about different view of discourse analysis. In different view of discourse analysis, we realize that there are in fact a number differing view on what discourse analysis actually is. Like the social science researchers, for example, might argue that all their work is concerned with the analysis of discourse. In different view of discourse analysis, we are going to discuss about discourse as the social construction of reality, and then discourse and socially situated identities, discourse and performance, and also discourse and intertextuality. In different view of discourse analysis, of course, there are some opinion from the expert, such as the Kasdan 1998 states that analysis of strength of naturally occurring language. It is considering different ways of talking and understanding. And then about the next opinion from Fairclough 2003, the textually oriented discourse analysis versus social theoretical orientations. And then from Cameron and Cluick 2003, instances of language is used that they are studied under a textually oriented views of discourse are still socially situated and need to be interpreted in terms of their socially meanings and functions. So, based on their explanations and opinions, we can see or we can conclude that discourse analysis is a view of language at level of text, and then discourse analysis is a view of language in use. It's like communicative goals, acts, and present themselves. Discourse analysis considers how people manage interactions with each other groups, societies, and cultures. Discourse analysis focuses on how people do things beyond language and the ideas and beliefs that they communicate. Let's move to the first view of discourse analysis. The first one, discourse as the social construction of reality. Here, texts are embedded in social cultural practices. Discourse in a both shaped by the world as well as shaping the world. Discourse is shaped by language as well as shaping the language that people use. For example, the analysis of the BBC Panorama interview with Princess Diana in 1995 provides an example of the role of language in the construction of the social world. She shows how, through the use of language, Princess Diana construes her social world, presenting herself as a sharing person and Prince Charles as a proud man who felt low about the attention his wife was getting. That is, as he speaks, the princess creates the view of herself and the world in which she lives in a way that she wishes people to see.